Welcome back to AI Agentic Bros, and today we are going to be going into 5 tips that you should keep in mind when first building out your initial n8n RAG agent. Now, this is a really popular concept when it comes to building AI agents, and it's something that I have quite a bit of experience with. I've built several with our AI automation troubleshooting tool, AI Agent Desk, as well as a few other different projects and tools that we've been working on kind of in the back for some of our clients. And actually, we're looking to build out another RAG agent for another one of our potential clients. So this is something that I've worked with quite a bit. So I thought I'd kind of put together this list just to help people that are first getting into agents and then starting to look at RAG or being introduced to RAG, because initially you start getting into n8n, you hear about AI agents. Usually the next step is to get into RAG and how you can actually train agents and update its knowledge base to specific information or data that you want it to have access to. So let's go ahead and dive into today's presentation. Number one, make sure you're optimizing your document processing. Prioritize simple formats. So make sure you use text and markdown for clean, data free of styling and metadata that can confuse LLMs. Convert everything, extract raw text from PDFs, docs, and PowerPoint files using n8n nodes before chunking and embedding. And make sure you scrape websites smartly. Make sure you're using sitemaps for comprehensive coverage, and consider compiling content into a single structured file. So let's dive into those points a bit more. Now, when you're looking to feed data to LLMs, they usually accept text or markdown files the best, and they can kind of ingest that type of file or format of files in the best way. So when you're looking to actually go ahead and RAG an agent, it's important to kind of figure out how you're going to go ahead and process the documents that you want to train it on. It can get a bit dicey with PDFs. It can get a bit dicey with images. Just to kind of keep that in mind, looking to build out your first RAG agent, the first thing you have to consider is this going to be easy to train the LLM on? How am I going to get this into my vector database? How am I going to store it? And how am I going to break it down? So make sure you optimize your document processing. An example that I can give is a client I was recently talking to, and they want to train an agent on about 5 to 7 different types of source documentation to kind of help update a database. When I first approached this problem, I had to ask them, what type of format do you mainly get these source documents in? And the answer was PDF. So my approach with that client would be using something like Mistral OCR. If you want to kind of keep it more simple, there are nodes in n8n that allow you to kind of convert PDFs into text files or different formats into kind of other formats that you kind of want to push towards your LLM. So make sure you keep in mind how you're going to optimize your document processing. Okay, next, make sure you're engineering your prompts for precision. Now, I would also put this on a list for just general AI agent tips, but make sure you're clearly defining the role and persona, you're setting strict boundaries, provide fallback instructions, and thoroughly outline the process. So, meaning give step by step guidance on how to analyze, retrieve, and synthesize the information. Make sure your agent knows exactly why it's going to be calling back to its database, and how often it should do it, where in most cases it should do that every time. In most use cases, it shouldn't provide an answer outside of the scope of the data that it's being trained on. Keep in mind, the prompt is the instruction manual for the AI agent. A vague prompt leads to vague or incorrect answers. And in the case with a RAG agent, a vague prompt leads to a vague search from the agent, and not really knowing what it's going to be looking for, especially when you're going to train it on a lot of data. It's important to keep in mind that, yes, you can somehow give the LLM all the data it needs, but it's not necessarily going to access that in the most efficient and optimized fashion every single time. So make sure your prompts are engineered for precision. Number 3, understand the accuracy and cost. Even when you're first getting into RAG agents, the next step you'll hear is contextual RAG. So what it is you enrich text chunks with metadata like source document, page number, URL, or creation date for improved accuracy. All it is what you're doing is giving, for every chunk of data, it's actually going back and giving and writing out context for that chunk of data. Now, this was an amazing concept when I first learned about it. I actually first heard of it from one of Cole Medin's videos. But you really have to keep in mind the initial cost for chunking and embedding new documents, the cost of calling back to the vector. We're going to get into this in another point. And then actually the cost of the models to actually chunk everything, go back, look at each chunk, and write out context for each chunk there. So you really have to kind of have a balance between accuracy and cost. Better context means higher costs. Decide if the boost in accuracy justifies the added expense for your use case. You really want to know how accurate you need your answers to be. For example, if you're building out a RAG agent for a medical facility, those answers have to be very accurate. So maybe it would kind of be in your best interest to go ahead and use contextual RAG. In some cases, if you're doing a simple support agent, maybe you don't have to be as specific and the agent has some more leeway in what it can actually say and output to users. Another thing, please keep in mind that the cost can also really pile up. Um, Accuracy and cost is one thing, but then keep in mind everything that goes into a RAG agent. One, you have to process the documents. Two, you have to chunk and embed the documents. Three, there's calls to the LLM when you're using the chat node. Four, there's calls for the LLM to actually go into the database. Five, it kind of talks back with the user. Six, kind of the back and forth. Those are all LLM calls, and they can all start to add up. Throw in contextual RAG, and then you even have a higher cost when you're looking to actually build out a RAG agent. Depending on how complex your use case is, really keep in mind your budget and kind of have a fixed amount you're going to want to spend. And then if you're building out an app or like maybe like a SaaS or something, really keep in mind what your monthly budget for the tool would look like. Finally, make sure to use a real vector database. Using simple spreadsheets or standard SQL databases will not work for serious RAG implications or implementations. I do have some experience trying to use Google Docs or Google Sheets, and that really just wasn't the most ideal way to RAG. It wasn't a proper database that allowed the agent and the LLM to actually go back and look up accurate answers. So I had a lot of trouble with that. Don't waste your time experimenting with that. If you're looking to experiment or kind of build your expertise or build your experience, Supabase offers a free account. It's easy enough to set up initially. Use Pinecone or Supabase. There's tons of tutorials on them. They're fairly easy to pick up when you want to just do simple use cases. Keep that in mind. Don't mess about. Go right to the real thing. Thank you so much for checking today's video out. If you're getting into n8n, if you're a beginner, or if you're a pro, check out AI Gen Desk, our AI automation troubleshooting tool. It's trained on n8n's documentation, and it's meant to really help you build out your flows and troubleshoot any errors that you run into. And if you're looking to start making money with AI, check out our free AR starter kit. Both links will be in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you.